Hello, YouTube. I am making a video right now to discuss why I think that psilocybin is an amazing psychedelic. Um, I've done it twice so far with over 2 gram portions. I've done quite a bit of microdosing throughout the summer. I usually do it bi-weekly whenever it was very sunny and the weather was worthwhile, very warm or pleasant to be outside. I live in Canada, so it gets quite cold in the winter, but whenever there was a very blue vanilla sky or whenever there was a not very much wind and the weather was manageable, or also I became acclimatized enough, I was willing to try out microdosing if I knew I'd be outside for a significant amount of the day. I've also used it for work performance purposes, which has helped me tremendously, just with a matter of confidence and understanding my skill set and looking through things with a lens, kind of like how Alan Watts would recommend someone live their life once they were able to have more of like a Buddha outlook of enlightenment or higher level of consciousness. Or, so basically dancing through life, going to the extremes of understanding what life might be about. If you're a rational human and you come to a certain age, you might have a greater appreciation for your mortality. You might want to come to terms with what your life might very well be about. As Albert Camus said, which I consider extremely important, come to terms with life, thereafter anything is possible. So it's basically using the backwards approach to solving the problem. You know what the end will be regardless. There's no one that's escaping their final chapter of life. But once you realize that, maybe do some quick calculations to realize how much virile years you have left, and try to actually look at life like an opportunity. You have a certain amount of wisdom after a certain age. You've probably established yourself to a certain degree in life. I hope you have. And if you haven't, I completely understand why. It might be hard to get to a point of comfort mentally, or just your lifestyle. But if life was kind and it was your turn this life to have that ability to gain a certain amount of confidence in your skill set as a human, not have much status anxiety once you came to terms with your mortality, and had some gratitude for what you're able to achieve with the amount of actual effort you applied, a rational analysis of what your life was, how much energy you put into it. Are you being rational with your expectations? Are you comparing yourself to your peers? Are you trying to make the most of everything you can understand of your life and not letting your bad thoughts be like Velcro? But so before shrooms, I was getting to that crisis point where I had been through a significant relationship in my life beforehand, which I became single around 25, and I was still in school finishing up my master's in engineering. And I'd always been a little bit confident, just with my personality and outgoingness, extroversion. So I didn't feel like it was something that was going to be difficult to overcome. But I had a lot of commentary from my previous partner that left me wondering what I actually wanted and who I was going to be to somebody. And it caused me to have a little bit of a resonating emotional opinion about myself that I had to work on. Luckily, before I had become single, I came across a poet named Leonard Cohen, and he basically allowed me to look through things in a very artistic way, look for metaphors. His poetry is very relatable to a man coming of age, and going through love and having good chemistry with people, the opposite sex, um, remembering memories in an artistic way, giving meaning to things, journaling poetically, basically about all your thoughts and putting them to paper so you can actually force yourself, in a sense, to go through your true sentiments about a previous experience or memory. So that caused a lot of healing. And then during that time, I had graduated. As I continued to heal after that relationship, I picked up dancing, Latin dancing, and was able to meet new partners and have a few girls that I dated between those 5 years. I've been dancing for about 5 or 6 years now, so I got fairly good at it and made a lot of good friends, had a lot of good relationships. Um, and so, status anxiety wise, I felt confident enough in that point that it wasn't going to be difficult for me to find a partner in life. So I consider that a blessing, a lot of gratitude, and I'm glad that it wasn't just handed to me. I grew a lot through it, got to know myself, decided things I wanted to work on throughout the years, contemplated, realized what I might want. I honestly don't think that the partner that I had, who I pined about afterwards, would have been right for me. I'm a sapiophile. I'm attracted to intelligence. I want someone who's interested as well, at least at like listening and learning together, and hopefully providing contribution in their own way. So it's quite nice to have a partner like that. So I've learned a lot about myself. I want to be around somebody who's driven in a, again, Buddha kind of style, the middle way. Not too much, not too little. Same with learning, like not excessive, just a healthy play with things. So psilocybin allowed me, as I continued to work, and realized that I was going to have a reasonable in the middle ground career. Like I was not going to be someone super successful because I wasn't willing to put the effort. I knew that. I was quite content with putting a modest amount of effort and having a life outside of work. I wasn't going to grind and try to get every single accreditation, try to get. I just kind of, I'm very Taoist. I kind of go with the flow and kind of let my gut, if you want to call it, guide most of my decisions. And I think life can be grand that way if you keep yourself in a certain amount of flow state or comfort, because you're probably choosing those paths most of the time due to a little bit of knowledge of who you are at the moment, and then changing it as you go, or letting things, just accepting things if they don't go quite well, and then keep at it and try out new things and look for beauty in either path that you take. But as I continued to work, I saw that the hours of a typical engineer, especially in project management, which is my specialty, the hours were, there wasn't much autonomy, and the hours were almost like fixed, non-negotiable, and people expected you to be there all the time. Even taking vacation, they would say you get a certain amount of vacation, but I was never it never felt like it was something that was promoted heavily to actually take it and enjoy it and disengage from work. It always felt like people were going to be gossiping about you. It was just a strange, toxic environment, which I've heard from other people that it's the same for them as well. So it's not just all my mind. But I just started to realize that I am a specific kind of person. I still want to function in society, and I like that I wasn't just giving up, that I was trying to find my own place where I could feel very comfortable and also have my employer or the people that I was working with comfortable with the amount of performance I was willing to provide. But as it continued with me trying multiple different avenues, large projects, smaller companies, big companies within the big projects that I've done, and then government, I was starting to say or see a continual expectation of presence in the workplace, and I wanted to be able to enjoy certain days off, or I wanted to be able to work from home. And I was realizing I probably should have done software engineering if that was the case, but hindsight is 2020, and maybe I would have found that stream of education quite difficult because I didn't take anything in high school for programming, unfortunately, and most of the people that enter university, it's all a matter. Everything came to be for the reason it did. I think life can perfectly give you exactly what you can handle, and it might seem like you're making mistakes, but it can bring a lot of color to your life too. Had I went the easy path, I would have taken much for granted and never things didn't end up that bad at all. I'm actually quite grateful. I can see the poetry and the growth, the character growth. So that makes me quite happy to examine that or look through things or digest what I had become through everything I know that I went through. And I think that's quite a nice feeling to appreciate yourself and your story that you've been involved in. But yeah, after realizing where I was and who I was working with and how things weren't going to be a good idea, the sunk cost fallacy kind of came to be in my life. And I was basically saying, well, I don't want to start over because I've already put all this effort and time, and I realize the crunch that it will be to learn a completely new skill. I don't want to go back to school. I would love to go back to school for my own purposes, and YouTube has been that for me. I'm very autodidactical, but I didn't want to restart from fresh, so I started using, basically I started using these agencies, they're called, which you basically give them your resume and all of your skills, and they look for an employer for you. And to me, that was the best idea to do because I had a middleman in between me, so I could define my expectations a little bit better rather than just applying to a place and them giving you an interview and being able to select a bunch of people. I was able to put out my resume and find employers that actually were very interested in finding a specific kind of employee, and then find people that would actually be grateful and look highly upon their employees due to the fact that they really needed someone with that skill set, and I wasn't just getting the job. I was turning the tables basically because I'd always been on the other side where I was the one applying and trying to appeal to get that job. Whereas when I would give my resume and be kind of relaxed and wait for any responses and stuff, and then the employer who picked me was most likely picking me out of complete interest and trying to accommodate to me as well. So that was a nice change for the workplace, because that is a big, you work about 2,000 hours a year. So it's in Canada anyways, and most places in North America. So why not be happy and actually find something that can make you in your flow state, like not too hard, but not too easy, and causing you to actually be challenged and enjoy the situation. So it's kind of like a mix. So your energy stays high and your interest also. And that way as well, with the fact that the employer that I was finding was looking for an employee, they were more flexible with the schedule and accommodating and willing to discuss things so that we could both make sure that I was going to continue working there and that we were both happy in that situation. So my friend from dancing, I'd met a guy friend from dancing, and we had interacted. And when COVID happened, basically, he had started telling me about psilocybin. And I have a deaf ear sometimes when people mention things. So it took a while, him mentioning it over and over again. Same thing with Bitcoin. He did the same. Unfortunately, that didn't catch my ear. I could have made 5 times my money, and I had quite a bit saved up at the time, but wasn't meant for me, I guess. Not this lifetime anyways. Maybe in a multiple universe where I exist, I have that money, but maybe I wouldn't be happy. So maybe I'd be arrogant and toxic and my vices. I think having less was important for my personality type to get me to become more appreciative of life and feel the texture of it more and enjoy the taste of it, rather than being high off of that testosterone or confidence that can make you not even consider things that would be more important for a mature individual. More materialism can seem quite intoxicating, but when the high does leave, you might be more broken due to lacking character growth. So I took psilocybin in the spring. Typical self, very impulsive. Got a few friends to come with. I thought that it was going to be more like shrooms, where you're just going to get thoughtful, and perhaps things are funny and hopefully manageable. The high didn't really completely understand what this drug was at all. And basically, I was brought into one of the craziest environments, mind puzzling reality that I could have ever imagined. And I will make that in my next video. I appreciate the audience that this might appeal to, and I hope that I provide a lot of thoughts and different kind of emotional intelligence. I just basically think that there's a lot to be learned at a certain age, at a certain amount of wisdom with life experience. And I think that things like this can really get you to examine your subconscious. I think it should be done in a healthy manner. It shouldn't be done like alcohol, where you get shit-faced and you end up not being able to manage yourself and regret it the next day. I think it should be something that doesn't cause you to go through crisis. And I hope that people get to have these kind of introspection moments through assistance with something like psilocybin, and that it can give you a better outlook, look at life as it's not so very critical and fundamental to your identity, and that you can look at life, like Alan Watts would say, in such a way that you can see its extremities, digest that, and then decide to dance in life due to the fact that you're completely aware that this is an observation and it doesn't have to be consequential in any manner. You didn't decide to be born who you were. You didn't decide any of your external factors, but you are experiencing them, and all you can do is try to make your life's meaning to actually fall in love with who you are, so that if you are to spend an eternity with this consciousness in one form or another, that at least you are not being velcroed to those bad thoughts or bad memories that might have been difficult to overcome otherwise. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.